Hey everyone, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is Season 5 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Oye, mi gente. So, you should know by now, I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years. If there's one thing we love, it's a strong, sassy, fierce woman. I mean, we can't help it. We're two guys, but, we're feminists. It's what we do. It's what we live for. And that's why we had to invite one of, frankly, the hottest singers I've heard recently. And I gotta admit, you are a recent discovery for me. I'm not going to lie. We are here with Miami's own Vikina. And I pronounced that right, correctly? Because we had a whole conversation beforehand.
You can add a couple nanas at the end if you want.
Well, okay. So we're here with Vikina, na. All right. And there we go.
That's how I like it.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we're here at Union Beer, which has had... Listen, you're sitting there. What is it you told me? You wanted something...
I'm taking a sip of my favorite hazy IPA.
I wish this was a video podcast because the way that you had initially told me to, because I was like, "Whoa, let me get you a drink," and you're like, "I want something like hazy, like the arms."
You asked me what kind of beer
I
I like, and I just learned because there's so many different kinds of beers. But I definitely am in this hazy IPA mood.
The hands are going again. I love it.
I don't know why I talk with my hands like
that.
I
will tell you why, because you are Cuban and Ecuadorian.
Oh yeah, that is me. She is I. I am a Miami mutt.
You are because you're a Miami girl. That is why. That is it's the law. Us Miamians must always do that.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely part of the culture. People always ask me which one I identify with more my whole life, Cuban or Ecuadorian. I'm like, honey, Miami.
Well, listen, we get it because we actually have a shirt that it says census. No, what I was saying is we actually have a shirt that's like the census. It says, black, white, Asian, blah, blah. And at the bottom, it's just like, they're Miami. Oh. So if anybody understands what you mean,
shirt.
Actually, you know what? We'll talk later because we literally have one left, and I will get it to you, my dear.
Yay. Oh, my God. I can relate. I stand.
Well, there must be a reason why they call you Miss 305.
Oh, well, I didn't give myself that name. Univision gave me that name.
Oh, okay. Univision hasn't given me any names, so, I mean, hello.
I was like, I've always wanted to represent Miami as fiercely as I possibly can, but I would never dare to give myself a title like that, you know?
Right.
And it wasn't until I was on a singing competition called Reina de la Canción.
That's right. You were one of the finalists.
Absolutely.
Top 3, right?
Yes. Top 4, actually. I was robbed of top 3, but that's another story.
Listen, we decided as a podcast that if people can believe that the election was stolen, we can make up whatever we want, and it's true now. Which is why we said Betty White was South Korean. Because
said what?
Because South Koreans, so she was almost 100 when she passed, right? But in Korea, South Korea, we don't know about North Korea. When you are born, you are already a year old. So you don't start at 0 and make your way to 1. You are born at 1.
Grandfathered her into centurionism.
We're like, you know what? She's South Korean. She made it to 100. This is now gospel.
This is now the word, the truth.
So you were top 3.
I was top 3.
Yeah, you were top 3. Done.
And they were giving everybody nicknames, and I always in my audition, I was like, I'm Vikina, I'm from Miami, I rep it hard to the day I die, 305,
yes, ma'am.
to say. And they were like, can we call you Miss 305? My Nabil was Bad Kitty. The girl who won was, what did they call her? La Barbie Latina, Yenny's. But to my credit, Jennifer Hudson was 4th on American Idol, and look at her now.
This is true. Sometimes it's better not to win these things.
That's what I tell myself, at least.
No. But there's truth to it because, especially with Idol, it's a tricky one, right? Mm-hmm. Let's continue the comparison that you just brought up, right? Okay, yeah, season 1, Kelly Clarkson, phenomenon.
Carrie Underwood,
phenomenon. But there's for every Kelly and Carrie, there's an Adam Lambert, there's a Chris Daughtry, there's I can't think of the names now. It's 2 of them that they are now doing Broadway. Diana DeGarmo and Ace. I want to say Ace Frehley, but that's from Kiss. So definitely not him.
Oh my God, Adam Lambert on tour with Queen right now. Die.
I have been dying to go see him.
Me too.
But I can't. Oh yeah. Adam, calm down. I know those little studs on the jacket are expensive, but
Oh, they're expensive?
the tickets are not cute.
Oh,
Price-wise.
man,
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So, but it's okay. I met him once at a Pride event. He looked great. I looked like a bearded potato. It's one of my...
Oh, so the picture is not frame worthy.
Oh no, but I've posted it everywhere. I'm that guy who takes horrible pictures of myself, and then I'll be like, "Look how horrible I look. Let's all laugh at it together." But enough about me and my horrible, my I guess my self-esteem. Let's talk about you and your journey. So,
What do you want to know?
everything. Let's start from conception. No,
I was
you're
born in Mercy Hospital.
there. You go. So you're from Miami. Whereabouts? What part?
Oh, I'm a Kendaleah girl.
Kendaleah. Did you just found a new city?
Well, basically because I was raised in Kendall, and then now I spend a whole lot of time in Hialeah because that's where my studio is. Actually,
okay,
the studio
okay.
that I've been working out of for probably like 10 years. I first started working there when I signed with a local label called Spanglish.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a deal with the owner of the studio, which basically anybody that was signed to them could use the studio whenever they want. So I was
Nice.
like the princess, like
Well, rightfully
20
so.
years old, so spoiled with my first record
Okay, so this
deal.
was like 2 years ago.
No, I'm 30.
You're
Get out.
not. Shut up.
Yeah,
In what world?
The brujeria is working.
You did say Hialeah. That's you did. Yes. Okay.
So I started working out of that studio like 10 years ago. Long story short, with that label, it was one of my first heartbreaks. The label dissolved, and like I was so excited. I thought I was killing it so early on, telling everybody like, look, this music industry stuff is easy. And it was one of my first heartbreaks. The owner of that studio, took me under his wing and was like, you know what, you can keep recording here. Just pay for the engineer.
Okay, for his hours, yeah.
For his hours to record you, because I didn't know how to run the spaceship. And I worked with that guy for like 5 years, and it wasn't until like right before Reina we just kind of like reached our wall, our plateau.
Right.
And he had to release me of our contract in order for me to get onto that.
Really? Oh, because you couldn't be signed.
I couldn't be signed to anybody, and I didn't have like a record deal with him, but he was my management. And Daddy
You had to be
Yankee-
amateur to be on
Daddy
the show.
Yankee was offering a management deal. It was a record
Claro.
deal with Sony. Imagínate, free agent.
See. You had to be
You had to
off the
be-
street. Yeah.
And I went on that reality show. We know that I made it to the very end. I got a lot of exposure, a bunch of fans, a bunch of momentum.
Right.
And I was like, all right, what now? Because the winner of the competition got a deal with Sony. The runner-up was getting signed with Sergio George. The one after that, was
So everybody
like-
was getting
everybody was
like
getting something.
consolation prizes, as it were.
And I'm like, hi, Univision, can I have a meeting? What about me?
Right. Yeah. I was third.
I was third.
as we established.
I
Yes.
was third. What next? And they're like, we'll put out some feelers for you. And I'm like with who?
Yeah. Like I want names,
With
addresses.
who?
I can drive there.
And they mentioned Mr. 305 Inc. So
For those who've been under a rock, that's Pitbull.
that's
I mean,
Mr. Worldwide.
if you're listening to our podcast, I'm sure you know that, but I gotta just say it.
Mr. 305 Inc. They mentioned it, and I knew a couple ways in through the grapevine. I have a lot of friends and a lot of connections in this industry for over my 10 years of
Right.
work and investment into it. But there's cards that I've never wanted to pull until the right moment.
Yeah.
So I pulled the card and I said, "Get me the meeting." Said,
If not
"Get-
now, when?
Get me the meeting now.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that they were buying the studio in Hialeah off of my old manager
No
at
way.
the same time. So I often joke around and I say like they bought me with it.
Package deal.
But the pandemic hit
Oh, mother.
and I'm like, cool,
Jesus Christ.
awesome. I have this amazing studio. I have this amazing platform and a connection. They weren't signing me yet or anything, but they
Right.
were like, you can, use our resources, use the studio, but nobody wanted to get in the room with me because
You could be infected.
I could be infected with
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like let me sit down and like how can I not let this moment and this momentum go to waste?
Of course.
So I learned how to record myself, something that I wish.
So you became like your own producer,
I'm my own engineer now.
engineer.
I mean, you could say that I executive produce my things because I don't have like one beat producer that I like is like I'm married to.
Okay.
Because I have commitment issues as it is. Imagine like with my music, my art,
Yeah, with your baby.
with my
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
So I hoe around with producers.
And Who among us? Who among us hasn't?
But I do engineer myself. I record myself, which is an art in and of itself. There's one thing to be a singer, another thing to be a performer, another thing to be a songwriter, and then to be a recording artist. That's art, the art of stacking vocals and like the harmonies and that.
So you just said something, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because you mentioned it's another thing to be a recording artist. I have always used them synonymously. Like, to me, a singer's a singer, a performer's a performer.
Yeah.
Singer-songwriter. But to me, when I say recording artist, in my mind, it's somebody who's the total package. Who can sing, songwrite, blah, like...
I would just call that an artist.
Okay.
I would just call that an artist, all-encompassing, because it is recording art, it's performing art, it's songwriting, which is another art.
Right.
And being a vocalist, which is a musical, like a musician, being like a musician.
It's an instrument.
It's an instrument.
Yeah.
So knowing how to play that, there's a lot of people like Ariana Grande might be like the most stunning, amazing vocalist in the world.
Right.
But I don't know how she is as a recording artist. Like, I don't know if it's her coming up with those melodies or if it's someone else sitting there feeding her.
Right. She has the final say based on what's presented.
What sounds cool and stuff. But those are all different facets within it. And like, to be able to do all those things, that's when you hit stardom. That's what you need. You know? So I'm working on it. Now I can record myself, which is a hell of a plus.
I would say.
Oh, I've been on fire.
Well, I mean, you're wearing the brightest color, so I assume, yes, fire is a given.
Well, you don't want to have to wait for anybody. And that's like the biggest tip that I could give any
like a true Latina
artist that's out here listening. The more independent and capable that you can be, the better you are for yourself. If you're able to style yourself and go shopping and figure out your looks and make you look great, you don't have to pay somebody to do that for you.
Right. Well, it's also extra cash in your pocket.
Extra cash in your pocket and extra momentum. And just like, if you don't, like, you know how many songs I have from 10 years of work that are like 75% finished, but I just want to change a little something, but I don't have those sessions, I don't have those files because I didn't record it, somebody else did. Oh. And I'm like, hi, can we get back in the studio and like fix that? And he's like, oh, Mom, I'm really busy this week, because it's always a he. Right.
I'm gonna get to that, but yeah.
I'm super busy this week. I'll get to you next week. We'll get together next week, and then it's a month or two later, and I'm over this song.
Yeah, I mean, there is a certain, like, I kind of get it from the perspective of like you're walking in asking somebody to almost reverse engineer. No pun intended, the engineering of it. But it's like, I have this, but I need you to kind of figure out the ingredient, like taking a final product and be like, I need you to tell me what was used to make this. Like, what are the ingredients that were used so we can finish it. And that does take time. Yeah, I would imagine. And
communication, and it's just like it's always a back and forth. It's always like, hey, can you send me the beat files? Oh, well, I'm not in the studio today. I'll be there tomorrow. And then they send it. It's just, time is so valuable, and anything that you can do by yourself and have control of by yourself, the more efficient you'll be.
Yeah, no, for 100%. And I said I was going to get to what you were saying about It's Always a Man, because I pulled this from your Spotify bio. Because, yes, I have been totally listening to all of your music. Thank you for your Animales remixes.
Oh, my God. My whole heart is in that song.
Girl, at the gym today, you were with me. That's all I'm going to say. But you are quoted, and tell me if the quote is not right, because God knows the internet never lies. She is ready to speak openly about the obstacles young females face in a male-dominated industry and how she has managed to use it to her advantage. She hopes to fill a void that she sees in the industry, specifically for strong Latin women. I've only known you for maybe 15 minutes at this point, and I will tell you that specifically that last part about a strong Latin woman, like, yeah, you commandeered this table. Like, you kind of walked in and you were just like, yeah, hi, I'm here, and I am here. Like, I am a force of nature. And, you mentioned It's Always a Man and things like that. What have your experiences been like as an independent artist, as a woman, as an up-and-comer, as somebody who, and I think you're even in a very interesting space than most people. What I mean by that is, in this day and age, a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just go on TikTok, I'll go on YouTube. We've all heard the Justin Bieber story, things like that.
Absolutely.
You had the exposure of Univision, right?
Yeah.
So you're also not coming in like, hi, nobody's ever heard of me. You literally are walking in the door saying like, guys, I worked with Univision.
Well,
And Daddy Yankee, and you know what I mean. And to a degree, right? In the sense that you're not just some kid who's like strumming a guitar in a coffee shop.
but I have that platform now, 10 years later.
Okay.
And the key point in that statement that you read earlier is becoming a strong Latin woman, right? And I became a strong Latin woman by not having that platform to hold me up for
Okay.
a very long time. I just had to believe it. I just had to know it. I just had to be it. I just had to breathe it. I just had to walk into the room. And maybe they let me in the room because I was pretty and because I was cute, and they wanted me
you
to,
are.
and they wanted to hang out with me. I wasn't always pretty. I wasn't always cute, but nah.
I'm not going to believe anything you're saying.
You know what? When I learned that I would sing and everybody would pay attention to me as a little girl, that was a power.
How old were you when
I
that
would
realization?
sing. My first solo was at the Christmas pageant in first grade. I sang
wow.
"Happy Birthday, Jesus." So it's an adorable fucking video, but that was probably my first. My grandma tells me the story that I would like walk around school for like the next month and be like, "Do you remember me? I was the girl that sang so beautiful." Because people that night told me how beautiful I sang and
Okay.
made me feel so powerful. And
But that was the same energy you walked in here with. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that, no, but I mean that as like look how young you were, first grade, okay? Like you were barely a human being, right? Like first grade. And you were like, okay, these people complimented me, but they're complimenting me because I know I can do it.
yes.
And that is the energy that I'm getting off of you. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. It's a fine line between arrogance and self-confidence. And I think you project self-confidence.
Thank you.
I mean, again, I've only
Thank
known you like
you.
15 minutes, but there's something about you that you're just like, this is who I am, and take it or leave it.
To be unapologetically yourself is one of my favorite things about anybody. You know, if I meet you and I feel like you are just shamelessly you, like you have my heart, you have the key, the entryway to me, because like that is so hard to find and it's so hard to be.
Right.
Because we all doubt ourselves, and I doubt myself every day.
Of course.
And no matter what accomplishments you achieve, you still question, like, am I good enough to get to where I want to be? And
Imposter syndrome is real.
imposter syndrome is so
real.
I actually learned about that recently. Shout out to my cousin Jessica Alpazar, a doctor
Oh.
in psychology.
Okay, so she's smart. She knows things.
She knows things.
She knows things.
And I was like, imposter syndrome. That's can relate.
But isn't it funny how you can feel that your whole life?
Wait for this.
Yeah. This is, it's one of the beauties of recording outdoors is the elements. And by the elements, I mean el avión que está pasando por el aeropuerto arriba de nosotros aquí en la 8. But
En la 8.
you feel this your entire life, and all of a sudden somebody gives it a name, and now you're like, oh, yes,
And now
that's
Univision's
it.
like, she's Miss 305. That's her thing.
Right.
I remember I started saying my whole life I want to be a singer when I grow up. And I think around 17, I was like, oh, shit, I'm growing up. So
It's
I
time.
should probably do something about it. And I started writing songs. And, man, I forgot where I was going with this. We were talking about imposter syndrome.
And just being a woman in this industry, really, and being young and coming into your own as a singer.
Okay.
I'm trying to help get you back. I'm trying to help you get back on track.
This is where I was going. So I started songwriting at around 17, and I was very frustrated, once things didn't play out the way I wanted them to play out. And I was tired of being in a developmental stage, like in a development stage, because I just wanted to be on a stage.
Right.
So I started kind of like outsourcing ways to like start performing, at least to fill that void, because that's my favorite part of the art. We talked about like the different
Right.
things, like, do I like being in the studio? Do I like writing songs? Do I like doing this? Do I like styling? Do I like writing my own bio? My publicist hat, Yes, but I love being on the stage. And I recall like auditioning for an agency down here, and they I have my meeting with them, and they're like, so you're like Latina, right? That's like your thing? And I'm like, yeah, I guess that could be my thing. Like,
But especially in Miami, that's such a like.
Well, there
how
were-
is that even the first thing, quote unquote? Like
Well,
that's so many people here.
It's funny because Miami is one thing and then South Florida is another.
This is true.
And that's what a lot of people forget to correlate. But like West Palm Beach is gringo AF.
Oh my God, yes.
Boca, quizá algunos latinos, but like, you know.
Yeah, no.
it's-
Palm Beach, like the official food of Palm Beach is mayonnaise. It's so
And
white.
if you want to perform and make money in this town, honey, money's up there. The money's
true.
up there.
It flows up.
So I'm auditioning and they're like, so like you can sing like bailando, right? And I'm like dead. I'm like,
I
yeah.
know they said it just like that too.
Bailando,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, yeah, I can sing. You know, I can sing a lot of Latin. I can sing like Mark Anthony. I can sing Celia Cruz.
Right.
I can sing like, you know, a few. And they're like, yeah, but you can sing bailando, right?
Because of course that was like the most
That was
popular
like
song.
the most popular
Right.
song at the time. And I'm like, yeah, sure, you know. And I realized, you know, hey, that's my thing. There's few people, at least from what I can see, that can do like the pop thing and the Latin thing, and
Right.
and I sing and I rap, and I'm not like this Ariana Grande vocalist. Like I know where my checks and my balances are. I'm not singing up on the second and the third floor. My things are on the first floor. Like I'll make appearances. But my tools are down here.
Right.
I like my toys. I know where I put them.
Right.
And that's my thing, but I'll swag it out and I'll sass it out because that's the power that I bring. And learning your thing and owning your thing is what gives you that power to be able to walk in the room and it's like, this is me. I'm not going to try to pretend to be anybody else. I mean, this is what I want to do, and that's a long journey.
But that's so. It sounds almost obvious to me, which is probably why we should talk about it. Because if it
Sure.
sounds obvious, it's probably not, right?
No.
If you are an artist and you are a songwriter, you have to know your strengths and you have to know who you are and your authenticity, because how are you going to genuinely write a song, right, for you to perform that has nothing to do with who you are?
I've done it before. When I
I
first
mean,
started writing,
sure.
I was 17. I hadn't gone through shit in my life.
But that's different.
You think I had stories to tell?
But that's different.
I
At
would
17,
make
we don't
them
know
up.
who we are.
Nobody knows who they are, and most
Right.
people go their whole lives without really thinking about and figuring out who they are. And I'm expected to put it in a piece of paper, put
2
it
minutes.
put it in a box, and be like, "This is me."
Right.
You know, and that's the challenge of being an artist, is being true to yourself. And sometimes it takes that trial and error of just writing stories and like maybe translating what you hear from a friend until life hits you in the face and you're ready to be open about it and ready to put a feeling into words. And when you're able to do that, like I feel like I was able to do in my song Animales, which is one of the first times that I've ever been really truly naked, you
Okay.
know, in a song. To put that feeling into words in a way where somebody else can listen to it and can relate is such a special form of connection.
Yeah.
And I love connecting with humans. So it takes a long time to be truly comfortable with bearing yourself, like literally now. I've bared myself in other ways, but that's probably a way more intimate peek into me and my experience that I've ever given my fans. And understanding your strengths and your weaknesses is very important so that you can pick your lane, but being versatile was my blessing and also my curse, because I can do a lot of things, especially being from Miami. I think that's another thing that kind of helped me and hurt me in the sense where I have so much influence.
Yeah, you're exposed to everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
What genre do you not hear here?
I'm at a loss for words. I can't think of one off the bat.
You think you hear every genre here. You can even go to a place and hear country.
Oh,
if you
for
wanted
sure.
to.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You know, so I have all of this influence in me, being from this cultural melting pot that I attempted music, and I'm like, all right. I started with my brother writing songs on a guitar, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a singer-songwriter, like vibe, acoustic. That's
Right.
me. And then somebody sat me down and they said, do you see yourself with a band, or do you see yourself with dancers and lights? Like, how do you see yourself? And I'm like, I want both.
Why not?
Why not? You know?
Why limit yourself?
I want to do R&B and pop, but I also want to do Latin, and I also want to do this, and I also want to do that, and I can. but it's about figuring out who you are as an artist, and as Vikina, identifying who Vikina is. And when I created her, I kind of said that she can be whatever I want her to be, but Victoria Cristina Lopez can write songs and sell them to whoever it may be.
Right.
And that's two different arts. Those are two different artistic projects, I guess.
I love it. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Gem and the Holograms, but just the way you said that now, I felt like, the songwriter is Jerrica Benton and the performer is Gem.
Exactly.
And it's this, dual
She
personality,
is-
but they're the same person.
She's my Sasha Fierce.
There you go.
Vikina's my Sasha Fierce. So Vikina is strong and sassy and everything I want to be as a strong Latina woman.
Right.
And shameless. And, all the energy that I want to bring on stage in a show. I want CO2 and I want explosions and sparklers.
Which, girl,
and
you do
shit.
bring some energy. Because you at 305 Day.
Oh, you watched? Yeah.
And you were here at Gate 8, right? Yeah, so, yeah.
Low-key upset I didn't perform at Pride on the Beach, but...
That's okay. No, they didn't ask me to perform either. Not that I do anything, but they didn't ask me either.
Next year we'll be there.
We'll be there. Actually,
We'll
I
be
couldn't
there.
even make it this year because I was
Oh,
on vacation.
sad.
Well, I was on vacation. I was out,
So what do you think of my show?
Okay, there's a reason we're sitting here today because clearly it was like, who is this pop rocket? Like, who is this like shot out of a cannon and didn't stop until you were like in the last row?
Yeah.
And that's why I said like I'm late to the game because I did just discover you recently this year, and I was like, no. I need to know more about this person. I need to understand. Like, I need to seek her out, And so that's genuinely, that is why we're here, because I was like, no. And then, I start reading up on you and listening to your music, and I'm like, okay, no, yeah, I need her on the show. Like,
Thank
no.
you.
And I've asked this a couple of times of, when we've had singers on, what is it like to stand there and see a crowd that big feeding off of the energy you're giving them? Because I will say I have always wanted to be a singer. I can't carry a note in a bag, but more so because of the performing element. I've always, I'm a performer, I can do it, blah blah. But I've always thought that must be so intoxicating.
Oh, absolutely. I told you I had my first taste at 6 years old and I was hooked. The power of being what I call director of vibes in that moment.
I'm putting that on a resume.
Right?
Director of vibes.
Oh my God, I want to put it on a business card.
LinkedIn right now.
Being director of vibes in a moment like that with a crowd and knowing that you're giving them that experience of just enjoying it themselves, and I can be performing at a restaurant for Cuatro Gatos. I'm still going to give my most energy because I want to make sure that I connect with those people and give them that experience. That's my job, to provide the vibe as a performer. So I take that role very seriously, and I really truly try to give it my all. Recently with like my shows this past spring, I've leveled up with like dancers and stuff. And again, another one of my hats, I did my whole like video audio show, like the graphics that go behind me
That
while I
was you.
perform is another part of the experience. It's another art, aspect to it. So I wanted like cherries exploding, and I wanted perras dancing and things, in my brain when I visioned my show. I'm going full Beyonce at this point. I've lost my mind. And I'm like, I'm going to jump over here and the screen is going to go jump when I jump. But I just sat and I was like, okay, how expensive is it going to be to pay somebody to do it? Can I do it on Canva? Maybe let's try.
Yeah, and you can.
And yeah, you can.
Yes, ma'am.
And yeah, you can. You could do anything on Canva.
Yep. Well, I will tell you, now that you're exploring in the realm of having dancers, if you ever need a slightly older, balding, chubby, non-equity dancer,
Non-equity.
you know how to reach me. I will show up. I don't even.
There's a segment where I do sometimes in my show where I look for. There's a very famous Colombian song called "Papi Papi Papi Chulo Boom 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 Boom."
I don't know it, but sure.
I didn't know it until a Colombian friend of mine showed it to me. That's the beauty of Miami. Thank you very much.
This is very true.
And she showed it to me, and I'm like, oh, this is a part of my show. So I bring up a Papi Chulo. I bring
Okay.
up a Papi Chulo in some of my shows. So if I see you, be forewarned.
Okay, so I should wear my sluttiest tank top, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit, more about the music, right? I know you just recently, released Animales, and
Yes.
I can't wait to hear what else is coming up. You just recently released remixes of that song, and you have also worked with. This word gets tossed around a lot, but someone who I consider to be an icon of music, specifically dance music, Robbie Rivera.
Oh yeah.
And you were telling me earlier that you're like making a little bit of a shift, right? Whereas before you were maybe a little more what they call quote unquote urban, which
Urban,
what
Latin.
does that mean, right? Urban.
Urban,
Like,
yeah.
but we know what it means, but like, come on, guys, it's 2022. But you're shifting
so funny you
into
say
more like a dance, realm. And I
Absolutely.
saw one of your tats says, "What is it? Dance in a Hurricane?" Which
Oh wow, this is the name of the first song I ever wrote.
is it really?
Yeah, it was my brother. It was, I swear to God, it was like a tropical storm. I don't know what's her name, right? And me and my brother were locked up, and I was like, one of those moments where I'm like, I guess I should start writing music now, right? I guess that's
Got
the
nothing else to do.
That's like, you know what I mean? It was like, I'm growing up. I got to start figuring who I am out. And it's like a very singer-songwriter song, me and my brother on a guitar, and it's
Wow.
called Dance in a Hurricane. And it never came out, but it's still so true to my heart. I used to have one of my first gigs, like I was 17, my brother was 15, and we would play at like a pizzeria in Brick, I think that's what it was called. And I would sing it. I would sing that song, and people would love it, and people really connected with it. And I guess I got it. I literally just got it. You see, it's like still
Yeah, I
taped
can
up.
still. Yeah.
I got it recently because it's just a reminder of my roots. And dance is so important to me. I love dance music. It's like that and reggaeton are my favorite genres. And then I was like, can I put them together? And I like I told you, I found a void in the Latin industry specifically for like females way back when I was starting, like this is before Karol G and Becky G and
Right.
Nati Natasha came out. There was just J-Lo and Shakira, and I'm like, there is room there.
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
There is room there. So I went head first into the Latin industry. That was at a time where like mambo was popping, and I started doing cute pop reggaeton. And I released my first single under the name Victoria. This is before Vikina was born. And it was like a pop reggaeton. Before reggaeton started popping,
Right,
and then now reggaeton is popping, but true to my rebellious self, if everybody's doing it, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore.
Oh my
So to
God.
me, reggaeton is, I love it,
Right.
but it's not it
Right.
right now. It's not next. I know that dance music is timeless.
Yeah.
And I've always been a fan of it, being from Miami, being Latina, and now I see an opportunity for Latin and dance music to fuse.
Ram.
So I made this realization right as Animales was coming out, which is like a moody urban ballad. And I'm like, okay, shit, what do I do? I'm literally making this epiphany moment. And a friend of mine,
They come when they come. You don't ask for them.
goddamn, I'm like, we paid for a very expensive music video, and I'm trying to tell my label, like, I'm doing dance now. Like, can you support me in this transition? And my friend SP gave me the brilliant idea of just remixing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
It makes
I
total
just-
sense.
Just look for somebody to remix it and make it dance, and then now this can be your segue into just
Right.
going full throttle dance. So that's what we did, and I hit up my two very close, long-time industry friends, Chillin' Williams and Los de la Vega, and they both gave me two very different versions.
Yeah. Equally great.
Equally great, but very different. I told Los to give me like the live CO2 version. And then I told Jesse,
I love that you say that as shorthand, and I know exactly what that means.
I can
like,
picture
I'm so
myself-
freaking Miami that I know exactly what
I
that
can
means.
picture myself like super drunk going down the stairs,
Yes.
Going down the stairs. Parecemos animados, those chords.
Yes.
Como mortales. I'm totally picturing it. And then my friend Jesse is way more tech house, so I told him to give me like the more tiki tiki version.
Okay.
Tiki tiki.
Tiki tiki. Of course. It's
Space
again.
Terrace,
yes.
like different vibe.
Like after your after hours club.
after
Yes.
hours
Yes.
vibe.
I don't know if you're old enough, but your juice bar vibes.
Oh, I'm not old enough. I can thank God I'll take that one because I feel like I've been partying so young, like since I was so young in this town that I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember that.
No. For those who are not old enough to remember, juice bars were a thing where they were like after hours clubs, but they didn't have liquor licenses.
Oh, really?
So you would go and you would order like, oh, I'll have the orange juice, and the orange juice.
And you bring your own.
You'd pay for the orange juice, but they'd give you a cup of like vodka on the side. Like
Stop
so
it.
it was like the liquor was
Iconic.
free, but you're paying
It's like the Miami Prohibition.
you're paying like $12 for a glass of OJ. But you know But yeah. So
oh my
the,
God,
the
I want to
juice
have
bars,
a juice bar party.
Yes. Well, you know what? We'll coordinate one. We'll coordinate one.
So I'm officially married to dance music. I will be with her for the rest of my life, and I'm very excited.
Well, she's a polygamous bitch because I am too. So you know.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this transition. It's one of like the most like liberating and true to myself moments that I've experienced to date in my career. Like to be so excited about the music that I'm putting out, because it's been a long journey of just kind of like finding myself. Like if you strolled through my Spotify, you'll see that my shuffle play is quite eclectic, and that's due to me literally just figuring it out. I've gone from everything from like trap bachata to cubatón and pop and reggaeton and like everything in between. But now I'm ready to kind of just put it all into dance and be that girl.
It's funny because once upon a time, I feel like dance was considered very cold and not like I'm going to use the word lifeless, but that's not the word I'm trying to
It
use.
was saturated.
Like, well, no. Like, people felt like dance music, you couldn't have meaningful lyrics. You couldn't have depth.
Oh, okay.
It was a very cold, you know, just like uns, and that's it, right? But I think we've seen a little bit of a pendulum shift. I think, you know, and I'll even dare say, I think, you know, Madonna with Ray of Light was probably the first one to kind of
Go
start mainstreaming that, if nothing else.
I had a little bit of an epiphany in that, in relating to that, with this record, because I didn't write it as an EDM record or a dance record.
Right.
I wrote it as like a reggaeton, urban, moody ballad. So when I asked somebody to flip it, it was kind of like an eye-opening moment to me, because whenever somebody gives me a dance beat, I'm automatically like, live your life, be free. You know you can have it, huh? I'm always like optimistic, because that's who I am, and that's who I've had to be able to break through all the barriers that I've had to break through. So I am a very optimistic person, and that's naturally where I want to go. So having a meaningful song with meaningful lyrics on a dance beat was really a cool concept for me. So I've been trying to experiment a little bit more with that, because I was so excited to be this vulnerable with my fans, and I want to try to do that again and accomplish that. So it's something that I'm experimenting with a lot more now, because I feel like what's natural is to be like party, rumba, viva la vida. But it's very different and difficult to try to, so I'm experimenting with. It's unexpected, and it's not natural. So it's not naturally what comes out of you when you hear those beats. So, but that contrast is actually very good. So I'm working on that a little bit in my future music. I mean, there's still gonna be party perreo music, because if not, I would not be Miss 305. But there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out this summer.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah. So
is it going to be a nice blend of the dance and the urban, as they say?
Yeah. You would think that my label of all labels would understand being urban and Latin on dance music.
This is, if I would have to say anybody would understand, it'd be Pitbull, right?
And it was very, I don't want to say it was difficult for them to kind of like recognize it. I'm like, I want to be a female Pit. Stop like trying to compare me with Nati Natasha and Becky G and Carol G. I'm not them. I tried to be them.
Right, because you're competing with them for airplay.
But why? Why? Because they're women.
Because they're women. But the reality, it sucks.
I want to compete against Daddy Yankee. I want to compete against
no.
Pitbull.
I hear you.
I want to compete against those people. I want to compete against Farruko and Pepas. I want to be on that playlist.
I hear you. Agree with you 1,000%. But unfortunately, as a female performer, you're going to
I get boxed.
The instinct.
I get categorized. I get categorized.
Yeah.
In the girls.
Yeah.
Group.
Oh, go play in that area.
Go play in that field.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I can.
Right.
I'll give you urban, moody, sexy stuff. But do I feel like that's true to me and my energy on stage? No.
Right.
Do I feel that that is where I feel like I can make a mark and make a difference? No, I'm just one of them.
Right.
I don't want to be one of them. I want to be Vikina in that pond over there.
Right. Start your own pond.
Start my own pond.
Why not?
Grammys, if you're listening, we need an EDM category for the Latino Grammys.
Oh, I was gonna say we just need a Vikina category, but your
a
way
Vikina genre, Miami genre.
your way works too. Your way works too. One of my love. Like I said, I've met you like however long this interview is ago, right? But I'm kind of in love with you right now. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I was in love with your talent before. Now that I've met you, it's just like, oh my God, how have I gone so long without ever meeting her like in person? Like, there's something about you that just comes across genuine, authentic, fun, impetuous. Just like pick an adjective, and I feel like you are it. And I can't wait to keep hearing your music, but even more so, I can't wait, and I'm putting this out there into the world, I can't wait until I buy tickets for your first world tour.
Oh, that's the goal.
I'm putting it out there. I will put it out there.
Please put all that juju out there. I need to manifest that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Pero, Vikina, thank you so much. Like, honestly, it's... I'm ending it because I know you have to go and perform tonight, but also because if not, we could stay here for 6 hours.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, let's
it's our
cut
Cuban,
our losses.
Our Cuban is showing. We love to hablar mierda.
The Latino. I always tell people when they ask us, this is a running joke with us. Everybody always says like, "Oh, how long for the interview?" And I always say, "Well, we never ask for more than 20 minutes." We have yet to do a 20-minute interview because our whole podcast is interviewing Latinos.
Yeah. And you made me feel really comfortable, and you're very open, and like I love that, and you're very shamelessly yourself, and I vibe with that hard.
Clearly, we're picking up what we're putting down over here. I love it.
Exactly. So I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the platform. I appreciate everyone that's listening. If you guys want to check out more of my music, you can look me up on all digital platforms. Vikina. That's Vikina na na.
Yes,
Miss 305.
Miss 305. And what is your what's your Insta?
It's Vikina Music, and you can literally find me Facebook at Vikina Music, YouTube at Vikina Music. I've pretty much commanded that SEO property. And anything else under Vikina, I just got my trademark back in the mail.
Congrats.
So look at that. Look at us.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing
we don't even have a trademark yet.
Imagínate, get to it.
I know. We're so
Get
lazy.
to it.
No, my co-host is a lawyer. So, para que tú...
Imagínate comiendo
De lo que pica pollo.
murder.
For sure. All right, love. Well, thank you. And honestly, I look forward to continuing to see you perform live.
Dale que tú puedes.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.